Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some time with me on the video today. We're going to be talking about jig head sizes. As far as the weight of the jig that you use, this is probably one of the most overlooked elements as far as people getting bites on a jig or not getting any bites. So we're going to give you guys some good foundational tips and advice in today's video on how to choose which head size for different type of situations. So I'm going to get into that today. Also, guys, quick reminder, just want to invite everybody out there, if you haven't had a chance, to please swing by and check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns I built for Fish the Moment. If you guys are looking for some good winter spots for like your jerkbait fishing or swim bait fishing, really good resource to get you guys hooked up with that. So I'll put my Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description of the video if you guys want to check those out. Really appreciate it. Okay guys, let's talk about jig heads weights. This, like I said, I'll also guys remind you, this is my Blaukat throwback jig here from Cumberland Pro Lures. They just got 1,000 of them in at Tackle Warehouse, so they're back in stock. So I'll put my throwback jig link in the description if you guys would like to get you a few. Brown and orange are my two favorite colors for wintertime if you guys are looking for good color recommendation. But anyway, let's talk about the head size. Now this is we make 3 different sizes of my Blaukat throwback. We do a 3/8 ounce, which is this one here, and a 1/2 ounce and a 5/8, which is this one here. So you can see the head size difference on it. But what I want to talk about today is when you want to use like the heavier size like the 5/8 or the lighter size like the 3/8. Pretty much, I'm going to guess guys, for probably 90% of my fishing, those are the 3 size I use the most, is the 3/8, 1/2 ounce, and 5/8. We're probably going to start making a 1/4 ounce one at some point, but this encompasses most all your fishing needs for these three particular sizes right here. So let's talk a little bit about how you choose the weight of the head in relationship to what you're trying to accomplish, because it's not just one thing. There's a lot of different factors involved with it. First one, guys, is just efficiency. You know, you want to be efficient with your jig in terms of being able to make as many casts as you can and get the bait down there in the strike zone where you have a chance of getting the bass to bite the thing. So in those terms, as far as just from a straight standpoint of efficiency, the heavier head is usually used if you're fishing thicker cover or deeper water, or if the wind's blowing. Because if you have a 20-mile-an-hour wind, it's going to be hard to get that lighter 3/8 ounce jig down in a heavy wind. If you're trying to penetrate really thick cover like thick grass or thick bushes, it's going to be hard to get a lighter jig in there, so you want to go heavier. So that's one consideration. But even more important with that is you have other elements involved that determine the rate of the fall on the jig. Because let's say, for example, your trailer. If you throw a trailer that's got one of those big flapping legs on it, like the Rage Car or something, that's going to slow your jig down because there's a lot of drag on there. But if you use more of a chunk type trailer, like a Zoom Big Salty chunk or a super chunk that doesn't have a flapping tail on there, you don't have the water resistance, the jig's going to fall faster. So remember that the type of trailer that you use can sometimes slow the jig down half of what its normal speed is. That's a big factor with it. Not only the type of trailer, but the size of trailer that you use. In addition to that, your line size is going to affect it too. The heavier the line, the slower your jig's going to fall. And also on the amount of tension you put, whether you let the jig free fall or put some type of tension on there, every one of those is going to have some type of element as far as going to slow it up or speed it down. Now, on top of that, if you consider the thicker cover is designed for heavier jigs and the lighter cover for lighter jigs, that's an oversimplification. That's only one variable. The main thing that you have to determine is what the bass want as far as its rate of fall. That is what is really important on a flipping and pitching jig like my Blaukat throwback jig here. If you're fishing like a football head jig where you're dragging it just on the bottom all the time, not that big of a deal, because that's why people use a heavy jig on a football head jig, because it stays on the bottom all the time. But with the pitching and flipping jig, or casting even like with my jig, you're hopping it off the bottom like that. So as you hop it, the rate of that fall coming back down is a lot of times what triggers that strike. Now, what triggers that strike on the rate of the fall has to do with some environmental conditions, like your water temperature and your water clarity and the type of cover that you have. In general, what you're going to have as far as that will help you decide what weight you need to throw, in addition to what I just talked about as far as the efficiency part of it, is the water temperature and the water temperature and the water clarity and the water depth all working in cahoots together as far as determine the best size on there. Now, just some foundational advice. Here's how you can sort of judge it, and then you're going to have to sort of make adjustments as you go. The dirtier the water, the colder the water, and the shallower the water, the more that you want to use a lighter jig like the 3/8 ounce, because in that dirtier, colder water with the shallow cover, you're not really focused on a reaction strike so much. You want that fish to have time to find that jig in those off-colored water conditions where the water's colder. There's not much of a sight bite going on there to create a reaction strike. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's say if you have cold, dirty water, shallow water on this end of the spectrum for a 3/8, and on this end of the spectrum on a 5/8, if you got deeper water, cleaner water, and even warmer water, this is when you want to capitalize on that reaction strike, because in cleaner water, the rate of that fall, the fish can visually see it. And most of the time in that clear water, those fish are going to be tucked down on the bottom there. Therefore, you want that bait to get down quicker, not only to get into the strike zone, but, which takes longer because the water's deeper, but to create that reaction strike. And then everything else comes together there as far as like going to a 1/2 ounce size or some intermediate sizes. Now, based upon that, if you've got two extremities of clear water and deeper water and warmer water versus stained water, cold water, and shallow cover, in the mid depth there, let's say you got the in-between color where you got 3 foot of visibility and you have marginal cover. Maybe you're flipping to the edge of a stump or a boat dock or something. That's when you can adjust, go to like a 1/2 ounce, or you can adjust with your trailer or your line size. One of the things that you're going to find out in about line size on a jig, like my big flipping jig here, is the line size doesn't matter in terms of spooking a fish. The line size is all about your efficiency with the bait as far as, having to get those fish out of heavy cover or not, and the water depth that you have. So don't let the line size dictate as far as fish seeing that line. There's other variables to that. But that's pretty much, guys, what you need to know there. It's a combination of the mood and the personality of the fish, what they want, the type of cover you're fishing, the water clarity and water temperature, all that works together. And it's not like it works every single time. That gives you a foundation to start. But there's other factors involved. Again, sometimes the bass just want a slow fall. Sometimes they just want a fast fall. And that's something that you have to experiment with, because nobody can tell you what that is. Nobody knows, because it changes all the time. The bass mood and the personality, it changes upon the time of the year, sunlight angle, barometric pressure, the solar tables, everything, moon phases, everything determines that. So you just sort of have to experiment, but you got to start somewhere, and that's sort of my foundation to give you guys a starting point. So anyway, guys, get you a few of my jigs. Like I said, Tackle Warehouse, link in the description, Blaukat throwback jig. You guys won't be sorry by getting you a few of them. Talk later. See you guys.